When do you know when it's time to leave? Next on Table Talk. Have you ever been to a party with your spouse, Nick, and you know when it's time to leave, but she doesn't? Have you ever been to one of those events or something like a party? Or
you think about that at all? You know it's the other way around, and you know it. Excuse you. I'm the golden retriever of the two of us. So the yapper.
So you're saying Lauren, when y'all go to events or parties, is she's the one ready to go, and you're not?
No, I mean it's even. Yeah, but it's the it depends on what we're doing and where we are. But yeah, when do you know when it's time to depart? Sometimes you pull the Irish goodbye and just zip away.
Oh yeah, we do not do a lot of those social gatherings and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't. My wife is not comfortable in social gatherings where there's lots of people, particularly lots of people she doesn't know. We had the staff of 35 or 40 at our house. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. Because she knows everybody.
Yeah.
But in situations where she knows that the only people she knows are very limited, and I would know more people type thing. So we're normally ready to get out of there pretty quickly. So the question for you today, this will be dropped a few days before your last Sunday with us officially on staff of our church. You will begin at Heritage Church and Enterprise, a Global Methodist Church, July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you know, okay, it's time for me to leave?
So I was telling the guys in my staff small group this story, and actually kind of surprised them. Because this was actually a very, I was extremely conflicted about this whole thing. I think there's an easy narrative to be like, oh, he's young, he wants to do more, he got a job, yay. But like this, it really took me a while to get my head around the idea of, okay, it's time to leave Covenant. Because I keep saying this, and it's not just me being on your team and Bobby's team. Like, I legitimately think there is some really phenomenally cool stuff happening at this church, that it's going in a great direction. So when did I know it was time to leave? I thought it was time to stay because there was about a 2-week period where I was getting crickets from Heritage, and I thought, oh, they hired somebody else. Cool. Like I had this whole moment of being settled into like starting a new chapter at Covenant, like this whole thing. It was the week we had that vision planning meeting with you and Bobby. Well, that Thursday night, I get a phone call and they offered me the gig, and it was 2 days before annual conference.
Mm-hmm.
So basically I took the weekend. It was the Sunday of annual conference after church that Lauren and I settled, and I said, hey, I think I want to do this. And I talked to you that afternoon, and then we announced, 2 weeks later, just because Mother's Day and all this other stuff. But I did not know it was quote unquote time to go, and I wouldn't have unless Jesus made it very clear that he was in this opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. So reflecting back on your time here, what are some things that you are glad that you experienced? And are there any regrets?
Let's take those one at a time.
Please. Yeah. It makes it easier.
I'll tell a story. You decide, audience. No, man, there's the first outweighs the latter in every capacity. So between getting the opportunity to fall in love with this church and to serve it, between being a part of this staff, which I've genuinely never seen anything like the community we have on this team out in the wild. I mean, I haven't had a bunch of church jobs, but I've been around a bunch of churches, and even I was younger, got to kind of see behind the scenes a bit and saw some pretty hardcore like conflict or division versus like, it's not always unanimous, but there is unity here. Forming deep relationships, operating on a day-to-day with people that I have a really deep investment in. So let's use Juan, for example. If there's ever a thing where I'm like, hey, I would have liked to have seen this thing posted more, that frustration never outweighed the personal, and that it was a massive blessing. And that Juan's good at his job. That doesn't happen often, if at all. I don't regret spending my time in student ministry. I think I had a lot to grow and learn in. I think Jesus in his time made it clear when it was time for me to transition out and start exploring what was my assistant and then my associate pastor role. I don't regret a single thing about the relationships I've had. And any time that I have been deeply known by somebody at this church, they have proven trustworthy. Between guys like Mike Woodham, Joel Boyd, Bill Smith, Collins White, guys like Chris Golden, Brandon Pitts, Michael Voorhees, Philip Axtell. This has been an insanely special place for me, and why it was so hard to go was because this is the place where I've been loved, and this has been my family for 5 years.
Yeah, that's right. Almost to the day, right?
Pretty close.
Because it was summer of 21, right?
Yeah, summer of 21, we moved down here and began attending. Halloween of 26 would be the 5-year mark, because that was my first event as the interim student guy.
Yeah.
The GLAD, there are very few things that really don't live in my mind just as a blessing. If there's any regrets, I think it comes from my own inexperience and some decisions I made in the process, or as time went on, where, okay, I really didn't know what I was doing. But even within those, I was always in a context of where I was safe to learn and safe to figure stuff out, If I have a regret, one of the big turning points in my time at Covenant was in 2024, when I really went deep relationally with Mike Woodham and those guys for the first time. They were my first Wellspring team. And being authentically known and free to just take my mask off and start doing some healing, that happened in God's timing. Obviously there's part of me that wishes that it happened earlier, because when you're feeling very isolated in ministry and very insecure, and you have all this stuff in your background kind of dogging you, it just wound up being a very isolating thing. Everybody is somebody who I could disappoint, so I need to show them what I can show them, versus, no, I work with you, but you're my friend. And it wasn't until I really hit that point that I really started partaking in the staff, and it became as special to me as it was, because I was also in the mix, being known, being part of the team, not just I'm here to do my job, I'll show you what I want to see, Because if I'm going to fault, and I'm very aware of this moving context and all that, if I'm going to fault, it's going to be towards putting on a persona, trying to seem better than I am. That's one of my deeper areas of temptation. So any areas of regret come out of whether it was fear, whether it was an experience, whether it was just I wasn't there in God's timeline yet, areas where I was holding myself back from that which is deeply special about this church, the community, where I was outside trying to quote unquote serve it rather than just being part of it.
Yeah.
It was a hard lesson to learn, and it was painful, but I was talking with two guys I'm in a small group with about 2 Corinthians 7. Godly sorrow, at least in the CSB, there's this line in there about godly sorrow actually doesn't lead to any loss. Worldly grief, we lose something, but when we're losing sin and losing the things that sin has done to our lives, it may hurt, but long-term we're coming more alive. I may have lost my ability to feel safe and hide. I don't regret a single thing about that. Yeah.
What's a couple things? I'm not gonna put a number on it. Just what are a few things that you picked up by being a part of this church that in some way or other, you're going to carry with you to Heritage.
Mm. Staff culture at a church is very important. Heritage doesn't have a lot of paid folks, but there are a few with explicitly in the budget the possibility of growing more over time. It's not going to be a priority of mine. But keeping and maintaining the health of that staff and seeing myself as the primary discipler of them. Like, they don't work for me to do kids ministry. They work for me, and my job is to shepherd them too. That's a really big emphasis of mine going forward. Your byline for the past year has been people over programs. And I've really embraced that and been trying to work on that. And to be frank, anytime that there's been a struggle kind of in the men's ministry project, it's when I start being tempted to move towards building a program instead of let's just focus on the guys we have and loving and discipling them well.
Yeah.
Right. That's a big thing for me. I think the other thing too is that I don't want to open the curtain on the Wizard of Oz too early in this sense, but we're having a discussion right now on staff of like, why do people show up to church, right? They can get the best pastors in the world, preachers in the world online. We can run the rat race of putting on the best performance, or we can focus in on why are they showing up? Church is about community, and it's about being God's people together, and there has to be something you get by being involved that you just can't get anywhere else. I'm really interested in exploring what that is, and you guys are kind of starting to have that conversation. So I'm interested in, and if I've said too much on that,
No, we're good.
But
good.
I'm really interested to see how those same kind of concerns and ideas take root differently in different contexts.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. I'll be honest, I love Covenant. There's so much I love about Covenant. This has nothing to do with Covenant specifically, but it's a big church. It's a big operation. I am excited to be in a smaller context. Heritage averages near 100, something like that, where one of the things we say behind the scenes here is like, we know there are people falling through the cracks and we're always trying. Like, I'll be honest, like with that real emphasis on the people, not this weird thing we call church, but on the body, I'm excited to be in a context where I can take what I've learned here at Covenant. It's the people, focus on the people, disciple the people, love them as well as you can, pastor them, and do it on this slightly smaller scale where it's more attainable and it's going to be easier to see if hey, this person's falling through the cracks. Let's catch that.
Yeah.
Right. I wish I had more, because there is so much, right? There is one of the things, this is John Mark Comer talking about teaching. One of the things about being taught is that not only does it teach you information over time, good teaching shapes your imagination such that you're looking at the world a different way that you can't even like enumerate, but you know it feels different. That is what my time at Covenant has felt like, where like, I just, in ways I can't articulate, and obviously I've never been accused of brevity, or
nobody's ever accused you.
Not in my life. But like, I can't articulate the ways that like, the way I look at the world of church and what we're here for and what it means to serve and to be a servant leader, not a leader, quote unquote, but that we're here to maximize every person's ability to take their role in the story that God's writing. It's not the staff's job and the people show up to help. Like, there are so many little things that we could spend more time than we have here, but like, it just feels like what I walked in with just isn't the same worldview of church that I'm walking out with.
Yeah.
And to be frank, like that's with most of a Master of Divinity under my belt. I didn't have a lot of church experience, but I had a lot of study and I had all this teaching saying this is how the world is, but there's just something about the way God has planted me here, has used this place to prepare and grow me and transform me, that yes, it's been hard, but in a lot of ways in terms of how it worked out, I wouldn't have it any other way, you know? There are regrets I have about my decisions, like at times, I wish I could have done more. I wish I had known better. I wish I had not hidden this thing and just let it, whatever. But like,
yeah.
At the end of the day, it all kind of revolves in that cluster of why are we here? And it's to love and take care.
Yeah.
And any systems, any events, any protocols or sheets of paper or programs or whatever all exist in service to that thing of loving God's people. These other things can't, we kind of talked about this last week too. These other things can't eclipse that goal. Like, we're here to serve Jesus and to love these people. If making the church bigger supersedes that, you're done.
Yeah.
Right. I know that's a lot.
No,
but
so this is all on you. I'm not going to ask you to go any deeper or be vulnerable as any more than you want to be. What scares you about going to Heritage?
Okay, for top of the list.
Scared may be a strong word.
No, it's not. Top of the list, I am a yapper and I love verbal processing. So even now in this moment, I'm like, man, somebody from Heritage could hear this. I should not say anything dumb that would make somebody at Heritage mad at me. But there is a real thing of, and I've talked about this with my band group guys, you got to take some time to figure out who you can actually trust. But I know myself, and I know that leading with vulnerability is one of the ways to lead well. So I'm scared of not having that balance. It's going to take time to find that balance, especially when so much of those regrets in my life, the lesson from them is just be fully known. Like, that's one of those things that I want to be really careful of. Is Jesus did not entrust himself to everybody. That's the scriptures, but also one of the ways I'm wired and called to lead is to lead from that place of vulnerability. So that's a hard balance, I think. The other two things are one, there's that, hey, what is the right way to be known in a way that augments leadership and is healthy without being oversharing and unwise? The second thing is just inexperience. I don't know what I don't know in a big way.
Yeah.
I haven't had to keep up with a weekly pulpit ministry. And in fact, one of the things I'm really getting smacked by the Holy Spirit on right now is like, hey dude, you've had the luxury of months between sermons. And a lot of the practices I've had, a lot of the in the ways I kind of indulge myself as a writer, because it's fun, you got to simplify, man. And so I'm putting that into practice for Sunday's sermon. So somebody will probably look at me and say, that was simple. What do you mean? But there is an extent to which, like, all right, what does it mean to navigate my areas of inexperience of keeping up with the pulpit calendar, keeping up with, preaching, keeping up with key leaders of the church, like spinning all the plates in that sense, when organization and time management is always going to be one of my weaker areas. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. I think the third thing here is, and this is more wary. I wouldn't use the word scared here, which is what I'm about to say is context. And I honor this guy and his wife. The guy that's I'm replacing at Heritage, Patrick McBride and his wife, great people, phenomenal people, served faithfully there for 7 years. At least in the end of Patrick's tenure, his wife was his admin aide. Yeah, she was deeply involved, right? So what I'm about to say is not like, just keep that in mind. Lauren and I are about to become a separately posted clergy couple. Yep. Like Bobby and Clay.
Correct.
Where she feels strongly, and I affirm this, not that she needs that from me, but like we're in agreement, like she's not done with her time in student ministry at Covenant. Which means that this church, for the very first time, is going to have a clergy couple, which is not a super normal thing. There are unspoken expectations for pastors' wives, especially in the South.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, we're coming from a context of a pastor and his wife who are both really deeply involved. I'm just wary, especially early on, of balancing those expectations well. So I'll be quite honest. Early in our marriage, I did not do a great job of balancing when I was in the middle of Lauren and another outside influence. In this case, it was a family member. I did not do a good job, and Lauren wound up being the one having to compromise a lot. That's been years. Jesus does beautiful healing. I'm not doing that again. So if I fault this time, it's going to be towards being protective, but I also don't want to be a jerk, right? Yep. So I think it's going to feel very different in expression. But that's one of those things I really hope doesn't actually need to be on my radar, but I think it's going to have to be, is people are going to be like, where's Lauren? Hey, I'm sorry, you're going to see her to the exact extent that her ministry at Covenant is going to allow her to. And this is my other big thing, like, hey, by the way, I'm not going to deal with this thing of obligation on her. She has to be free to engage with this church from a place of love and offering, and I want to be here. Any kind of obligation and you have to, it's just going to kill that. And that's not healthy for anybody, right? So I don't know. And maybe this is also an experience. And I've talked publicly enough about this. I think it's fine. Like, I just want that relationship to work out well, and for them to respect her calling and the fact that she is discerning God's will for her life, and that, they can love her, they can be in relationship with her, but like, the expectations are going to have to be different. And I just see that as turbulence kind of on the horizon. Yeah.
But they knew going in. You were hired with that full knowledge.
Okay, let's pause.
This was not.
Yes, the 16-person admin board agreed.
That's right.
That's not the same thing as the church.
Oh, you're right. Okay, you're right.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
Like, and I'm sure it's going to be fine.
Your key leaders knew. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that's not the same thing. Let's put all this.
That's true. I forgot. Yeah.
The thing I've been resting on with Jesus through this whole thing is like, hey, Nick, I'm going to guide you through this. When you don't know what you don't know, I do. When you don't have what you think you need, I have what you actually need.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, ask for it and I'll give it. Or you don't need it. Or you need to rely on another member of the body to step in, because your job is to equip the body to do the work, not for you to do it.
Yeah.
So in all this, like, Jesus has got all this charted out. He's not surprised. It's all good. I don't want to wind up doing harm out of my own inexperience, or because I bring my own past stuff to the table.
Yeah.
You know?
You want to end with an easier question?
Please. I beg of you.
Okay. What's one thing you're not going to miss?
You can leave me out of that.
Yeah. The voice of Alan is finally on the podcast.
No, hey buddy, what am I not going to miss? I'll be honest, I'm not necessarily going to miss the part of my job that is technically being over online ministry. Many of you are going to ask the question, Nick was over that?
Yeah.
On paper, actually Lori Heldman's been the one coordinating that, and I've just helped at times. But like, at least when I first moved into this role, online ministry was part of it, but like, it just wasn't where my passion was. I don't think I particularly did a good job of keeping up with that and growing that.
We're going to make Alan do some of it. Alex, not Alan. Not going to make Alan. Alan's got too much to it on Sunday. We're going to make Alex do some of this online over the summer.
And I say that
since you're leaving.
Like, Heritage puts their stuff on Facebook, but it's not the same thing as you need a host every week. Like, I don't know. And that's just a philosophy thing. I don't know if that's out of passion Jesus has given me, or laziness that my flesh brings. But I'm not going to miss that weird, I should be doing more with online ministry, I guess.
Yeah. So, hey, Alan.
Yes, sir.
You're there, right?
Yes, sir.
So should we ask Alan should we ask Nick what staff member he's not going to miss? Should we ask him that?
No. If you do, I'll tell you. No, I won't.
We'll leave that part of the recording just for us.
Yeah.
No, we won't. Listen. I'm really not going to miss anybody because I'm not going anywhere.
You're technically not.
That's so right.
I'm up the road.
Like 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
Or 40 minutes to your parsonage.
Yeah, when you said I weren't scared of anything about going to Heritage, I thought you would at least said driving up and down 84, but
Actually, you're going to be close. Yeah, actually, you'll be closer to Alan's house.
That's exciting.
If you hang out. So
where do you? I'm going to ask you that later. Don't say that on the. No, legitimately, I love everybody I work with here. We're a family. It's frustrating sometimes, but it's all good. I don't have to miss the people because I'm not leaving.
Alan, I'm gonna give you a chance. Anything you've been interacting with Nick a lot on this podcast over many recordings or whatever. If you had any parting words that you would want to say to Nick to encourage him or to challenge him or to scold him, if you want to scold him, go ahead.
I'd just say, Nick, keep doing exactly what you're doing, man. It is so blatantly obvious that the Lord is working through you. There's not a doubt in my mind or anything about that leads me to think that you aren't doing exactly what you're meant to be doing and that you're doing it with the fullness of your heart. And I love you, and I'm so happy for you.
I love you too, man.
Thank you, Alan. Nick, bless you. Look forward to you speaking to us this Sunday, June 14th, and sharing with us. And for those of you who are listening, there will be a time at the end of both services where you'll be able to greet Nick. He will take some much needed time to get ready for his stint with Heritage. So he will literally be leaving us June 14th and doing what he needs to do to take a break, to relax, to recuperate, or to rejuvenate, and to just be ready for the next step in his life. Nick, thank you for everything you've done here. I will remind you again of this on Sunday, the 14th. But thank you again for all that you've done for our church, for your heart, and your spirit that has it's contagious. It's contagious, and in a good way. Not in a way we need a vaccine. So it's in a good way.
Nicotine.
Yeah, covered. There you go.
Oh, that's gross.
That's gross. All right. Thank you again, Nick. Bless you on your next phase of your life. Take care.
Thanks.